Hello everyone, my name is Webweaver and welcome to World of Horror. So, today, it's just current objective survive. We've got basically, hold on, let's look at the days. About 4 to 5 days until the legendary, never before seen, and by that I mean we've seen quite a bit of it on Twitter, and some of the details in the Discord. Hold on, I have to move the mic a little bit closer, just a little closer. And, we'll play, have we done Mimi in a bit? Like, I'm pretty sure we did Mimi recently, right? We'll do Miku. You can never play enough Miku. So yeah, just as current objective survive until the new patch, like, we're all looking forward to it, is like, you were driving through a dark tunnel for a year and you're like, maybe the dark tunnel isn't that bad, actually. And then somebody pings you, you get satellite service, you get cell service in that dark tunnel somehow. And somebody pings you and is like, hey, you're like a week away from reaching the end of the tunnel. It's like, oh my god. Was that a analogy that made sense? I don't know. Anyways, Hunts by the Cult? No. 7th Curse, let's do that. Let's curse, let's get cursed up in here. Now, I think we'll do Spider God Can't Run Away. We don't flee these. We do not flee these. So, yeah, I mean, we've got a charisma check, so we gotta put a point into charisma, a little bit of a bummer. Strength check will take care of itself. And knowledge and dexterity, we got every check in the game. As Miku, you genuinely do love to see that, because you can just, literally all you have to do is put 1 point into charisma, and you are G2G, you are good to go. And, yeah. Now, we do have the second enemy to concern ourselves with. So listen, I'm gonna get straight into the anecdote right now, because I'll probably immediately forget to talk about it once we actually get into the game. Let's check to see if we have a forest mystery first. So, like, yeah, we do. Okay. We'll look on the TV. I got a free... Because here's the thing. Here's a secret for those of you who don't shop on Amazon very often. Okay, because I try to buy either directly from the company or locally when I can, but sometimes you just need to buy something off of Amazon. But I don't buy stuff off of Amazon that often. But when I do, it's usually like a bulk order, and then that'll be me from Amazon for like 6 months or so, like 3, 4, 5, 6 months, something like that. And so what ends up happening to me a lot is Amazon will actually give me, essentially whenever I go on to purchase something, Amazon will give me a free 30-day trial for Amazon Prime, because they know from like the analytical data that when I'm shopping on there, I'm pretty much gonna buy like, I mean, maybe I'll do 2 orders, but they'll be like near at the same time, and they'll be, I won't buy anything for a while. So I guess they like to try to entice you with an Amazon Prime. Like Jeff Bezos is like, hey, maybe take the bait a little bit, enjoy free 30 days of our service that you're definitely going to use, and they know that I basically will just use it for the free shipping like once or twice and then cancel it. And if they're lucky, I've forgotten to cancel my free trial once, which cost me like $12 one time, which was a little bit frustrating. But they know, I know, that apparently I just... Like, it's a weird thing. Like, I genuinely don't shop on there, like, that much. So basically, whenever I'm checking out, like, most of the time, like, I assume for there to be an Amazon Prime free trial whenever I go on Amazon. Because I don't go on Amazon very often, alright? So, did we see Moriko already? I have no idea. We'll go back and look. I'm pretty sure we have, but, I mean, it's just a couple clicks, allegedly, so who cares? But, yeah, so I got another 30-day free trial for Amazon Prime, and I was talking about it, and Plunger, he said that I should watch Invincible, and so I have been. By the time you watch this video, I'll have finished the season 1. There isn't a season 2 yet. Apparently, that's next year. And I'll be honest with you, I like it. I definitely, I mean, I liked it enough to binge watch it. That's for sure. We want to do Bulletin first? Yeah, we can do Bulletin first. No, let's do Household Hell, just in case. Like, if we get roads closed after Bulletin, we're not gonna be a happy camper. Now, you really have to do me like this? I mean, we could do the Heavy Bonk. We haven't done the Heavy Bonk in a while. Yeah, why not? I mean, the Monkey Wrench is like, if you have a character who has high strength, or is going to have high strength, then, you know, it can be kind of fun. And we'll go ahead and get the Compass, like, we might as well. If we're lucky. There is no light source, it is second enemy. Backpack Lamau. I mean, do we want to restock? Go up to, you know, 11% Doom? I mean, yeah. There we go, that's what you love to see. I'm being a little bit more stingy than I normally would be, just because, I mean, we all know Miku's early game is very bad, and the hardest part of World of Horror is the early game, because once you get yourself established, like, nothing will stop you, typically. Anyways, so, I've been watching Invincible, and, like, I like it, but you can already, like, you can feel the butt coming on. Like, I wouldn't say I like it multiple times and then just leave it at that. Like, obviously there's more to the story. I feel like a lot of stuff is probably left out, because I looked at, like, what I assume is the show, like, season 1 is, like, the beginning of the comics, and on the website, like, the suggested reading order, there's, like, 15 comics plus, like, a side story, and it's like, yeah, that's, and there's a lot more of Invincible than I thought there was. Like, there is a metric ton of Invincible, like, comics. Way more than I initially thought. And, I mean, that's cool. But I feel like a lot of the series, like, because obviously, like, I've watched enough, like, adaptations from, like, written works or, like, comic or manga works to know when something's obviously cut out. And there have been a lot of scenes in the show that I'm just like, hey, wait a minute, this plot point was resolved at, like, lightning speed. And it just, like, it kind of hurts some of the better moments of the show. Because, like, this is really early on, so I don't think it's a big spoiler. Is that the kid, he finally gets his superpowers, and then his mom is trying to tell him to act responsibly, and he's like, you know, make me. You know, he's being an asshole. And, you know, he kind of, like, because, you know, you have that sort of thing where the main character doesn't have superpowers for most of his life, and then he gets superpowers, and he's like, oh yeah, I'm a badass now. You want to just roll the dice? It'd be funny. Live a little. Okay, yeah, that's fine. You know, so it's like, he's being an asshole, and anybody who gives him any sort of, like, pushback in his regular day-to-day life, he basically just, like, puffs out his chest, like, make me. You know, he's being an asshole. And he's, like, going throughout his life, and he's just being a jerk about it. And then he is a jerk to his mom. And then it's a really good, like, scene. And we're not gonna die, don't worry. I guarantee it. Guarantee we're not gonna die. If I die, we get sent to Ultramar, and I paint an Ultramarine in this mystery only. That's the promise. But, this is an Ultra game now. But yeah, so he's being an asshole to everybody in his life. And that's the vibe that you get. But the problem with the scene is that he is an asshole to the bully who beat him up. and then he is a jerk to his mom. Like, that's pretty much it, right? Like, you get this vibe of there's, like, way more story to explore here, but it's just, like, 2 minutes, and then it's done, right? Like, his mom gives him a talking to, and the talking to is, like, very well written, and it's probably one of the cooler parts of the show, for sure. We're not gonna bother here. I mean, we could have done it, but oh my god, the roads are closed. And it, like, genuinely, that's, like, one of the coolest parts of the show, is you have this normal person talking to somebody who, I mean, Mark gets his ass kicked a lot, but, you know, because he's still learning how to be a superhero, but it's like you have this normal person talking to somebody who's essentially I don't really want to say like a demigod, but somebody who could, like, destroy a skyscraper by punching it, right? Like, somebody who's very strong. And so, just watching that scene, that's a great scene, and it's, like, in, like, the first episode, or, like, yeah, it's, like, the first episode or the second episode, I can't remember. But it's really early on in the show, and, like, it came out, like, a year ago, right? So, I'm pretty sure everybody who's already wanted to watch it has probably already watched it. And again, I'm not going to spoil any big stuff. But it's just the show doesn't do enough of stuff like that, and so it just kind of comes off as, like, crazily paced. Like, things will happen at, like, a nanosecond speed. You know, things go by 1,000,000 miles an hour, and it's weird.
Oh, sorry. Suddenly, somewhere, Emmerdale seems to have disappeared. We'll go back to it as soon as we can, once we've found it.
Where was I? Jump scare, by the way. There you go. Where was I? What was I saying? What was I doing? Fear Festival? I guess so. Why not? Although we might have 3 strength, or 3 damage, which might be a little bit awkward. Now we are 7th cursed, so we can only get Hermit and dogs. That is not Hermit. She would trip and fall down an elevator immediately, or get hit by a truck, depending what the flavor text is feeling right now. So, but yeah, I was talking about Invincible. I think that, now this is a spoiler for episode 1, and if you haven't, like, seen Invincible yet and you want to watch it, then this is the part where you'd probably, like, hit L on your keyboard, like, 4 or 5 times, because it depends, right? Because if you're on, desktop, it skips 10 seconds ahead, and if you're on mobile, it skips 15 seconds ahead by, like, tapping right on the screen twice. Skip about, like, 2 minutes ahead, alright? But, you know, this is exclusively episode 1, by the way. Episode 1 spoilers. They do, like, Invincible, unfortunately, does this thing that I kind of don't like when a media franchise does it. Like, the only other thing I can think of off the top of my head would be, like, Zodiac War, or whatever it is, the anime, that does something similar to this. I don't think it's clever, and I don't think it's a good design decision either. Essentially, it's a storytelling device where you create a character or multiple characters, and you pretend that those characters are the protagonist, and then you kill off those characters immediately. And I think it's bad, and I really hate when a show does that for a few reasons. I cannot believe we made that. The biggest reason is that you design, like in the case of Invincible, the guy who created it designed, like, a superhero team, and that superhero team is, like, obviously influenced off of, like, the Justice League, right? Okay, that's pretty bad. That's atrocious, actually. So I'm gonna... You're gonna hate this, but no hope. We run these, for sure. It's not realistic. I mean, we're doing 3 damage, we gotta do 22 damage. We can do 6 damage a turn. That's like... Well, I mean, that's like 20... That's... We would have to... essentially take 20% Doom. And yeah, that's not gonna work out very well. Maybe we could have shaved off a... Maybe we could have gone to 18%, but like... If you're spending more than 3 turns there, you gotta get out of there, man. You gotta get out of there. But, like, for Zodiac War... Or I don't even know if it's like... If that's the name of the anime, but it's basically like a... battle anime where they have, like, people representing the different Zodiacs, and they really hype up the bull and give her, like, a cool backstory. She's got a cool fighting style, and she's, like, the protagonist until she gets immediately killed. So, I guess spoilers for an anime that I literally don't remember the name of. As well. But they do that for Invincible as well. They create characters who, they only exist to temporarily look cool and then immediately die. For episode 1, exclusively. And it just kind of feels... Like, it doesn't, like, people will say, like, oh, that means that the show or the book is telling you that characters can be killed at any time. No, it's not. It's not at all. It doesn't mean that. And it doesn't mean that, oh, this show means that nobody's off limits. It's like, no, that is also not how it works. Right? Like, they, well, how do I put it, right? All it means is that those characters were created for the sole purpose of dying. It doesn't have any story significance outside of that. And, like, obviously there's... If you've watched the show, you're like, Web. The plot point around what happens in the first episode is literally, like, the entire, like, point of the first season of the show. And you're right, okay? But it's still... Like, it's not shocking. And it's not... Like, well... It is... Like, I don't really know how to explain it, to be honest with you, but it feels wrong to create characters who are only there to immediately die. And it doesn't feel like... Well, let me explain to you what I think the fundamental flaw with the strategy is, alright? You create characters who are engaging, and then before the audience can get attached to the characters, or even learn anything about the characters, you immediately kill them. And I think that my main problem with that... I mean, yeah, we can do this, right? It's easy. It's easy. We never miss these. She did reach into her eye socket. That did hurt. Now, that's a little bit of a bummer, admittedly. Now, what we can do... I mean, we got discharge summary, so that's pretty cool. But panic is kind of bad. But we did just level up, so it is slightly less bad. We do need to put 1 point in charisma, but we can do that later. Get another point of knowledge, although I guess I should probably consult the level up chart, because that would tell me if I'm making the correct play here. But it just, like... If you introduce characters that the audience is starting, like, they're engaging enough, even if the character's entire purpose is to die, if you create a character who is engaging enough for the audience to pay attention to, then that means their death and then the character's purpose is to immediately die. Their death feels cheap, and it feels lazy, because, you know, the audience isn't attached to the character yet. They were, like, engaged with the character, but they are not, like, significantly, like, interested enough, right? The second problem is when you... And it's not just an Invincible thing, it's just that Invincible is the most recent thing that I've watched that did it. And it just, like, it's a storytelling trope that mildly sours the enjoyment. Because, like, I can obviously watch something that does that, it just doesn't feel like... It feels like a bad thing to fall into. And so when they spend, like... And so this is another thing that I don't like. When you have a show like Invincible that it's obviously, like, cutting... Well, I don't know if it's cutting, but it's, like, abridging things that are happening in the, like, comic book. And again, that's an assumption because I don't really know. But it does definitely seem like it due to how certain plot points happen and then they are resolved immediately and how rushed certain scenes seem to be. When you have a show like that where where different plot points and different, like, narrative strands have to compete for time for the limited time that each episode has, and then the season is only like 8 or 9 episodes long, right? It feels wrong to waste time on characters who the only relevant part is that they're dead, right? Like, if you spend like 40 minutes of an episode building these characters up as something that the audience should pay attention to, and then all that time was wasted and the only thing that they contribute to the story is that they're dead, then I think, especially when you're, like, struggling for time, the characters probably should have just started off dead, or the series should have, like, not included any scenes with them except the scenes where they're getting killed, right? Because it just doesn't feel like it doesn't mean that nobody's off limits, right? Like, and hilariously enough, I think they were made by the same person, so this is kind of a funny comparison. But a show like The Walking Dead, or the books The Walking Dead, is a great example of something like that done right, where in The Walking Dead, characters can be killed off all the time, and they can really be any characters. The only character that you're like, for sure is gonna live, is like the main character, like Rick, right? And I mean, I haven't finished watching the series, so I don't even know if Rick lives. I think I only watched into like season 3 or 4. There were some parts of the show that I remember pretty vividly, but I'm pretty sure the last thing that I remember was they arrived at a prison. Okay, and I'm probably not gonna finish The Walking Dead, so I'm not worried about spoilers or anything like that. And what would be or at least what people are assuming would be the season 2 of Invincible has already been spoiled for me. Like, I found out a while ago because of one of those Twitter games where it's like, the last protagonist from the game you played has to protect you against blah blah blah. And then, you know, that sort of thing. And that sent me down a rabbit hole, which was a spoiler for a show that I didn't think I was gonna watch because it was an Amazon Prime exclusive, etc., etc. But, yeah, no, like, I like the show, I just absolutely hate those sorts of, tropes. So we're level 4, we've got Adrenaline, 8 Strength, and 10 Knowledge. I think we can take them. Let me at him, Chief, let me at him. What was our second enemy? I have no idea. Let's just hope that we don't have to worry about that. But yeah, it's a good show. And if you're like, oh, Web, I can't believe you ruined it for me, for, like, casually talking spoilers, I've literally only mentioned things from episodes 1 and 2. And most of it was just, I don't like a narrative point that the show goes through. We do be running in the 80s, though, and we do be tripping over ourselves and dying. So are we ever gonna get to a point where combat is good? Apparently not. Do we have fetid fumes? I haven't been paying attention. Like, listen, you gotta make a sacrifice, alright? Like, when you're doing a video like this is probably not something that people think about very often. And it's something that I never thought about before. And I'm not trying to say, like, oh, woe is me or whatever, right? Like, I'm having a good time and I'm having fun. But something that nobody ever tells you about doing, like, a Let's Play or, like, a video commentary or whatever is that you have to use, like, a fair bit of brain power to try to, like, organize your thoughts into something that is, like, coherent, while also doing something... Oh my god. While also doing something that is... Okay, so we sell the rock ring, buy the sewing kit, question mark, buy the sewing kit, and then we will use the sewing kit, and then we will be happy. Because we technically healed there, because we have 10, we had 10 reason, now we have max reason at 13, and it heals 3 reason. It feels pretty good. It is 7 perception. It is 7 perception. If we fail, we get an injury that could lose us the game, or could... I mean, we have a... It's alright. Broken nose is fine, who cares? Although, we might care in a moment. It all depends on how much stamina we have going into this. Hello, non-Miku gamer. If only we had literally 5% more accuracy, that'd be great. We're not on Ath-Yelazath, are we? No, we're not. So if we cast this, it'll... Oh wait, no, we can actually cast this. It'll be for reason and not doom. And we have broken nose, not broken jaw. So oh wait, human enemy, huh? Oh, okay, hold on. That's now hold on a minute. We could make something happen here potentially. I mean, it's a 95% chance, right? We would have to be very unlucky. Now, all we have to do is live this. All we have to do is live these. We live these. I haven't edited the town yet. And so, you know, it's at least for me, because I'm still learning how to do this, it's difficult for me to, like, tell like an anecdote or a story, or get my thoughts across in a coherent way while playing the video game at a decent level. And so think of it like a slider, right? Like, you can either have gaming web, or you can have anecdote web. And, you know, ideally the balance is somewhere in the middle, but that slider is always moving. And I'm not talking about, like, a burger slider. The only reason those are on the mind is I had, like, a slider the other day. So all we need to do is live, right? So all we need to do is live. This should theoretically work. Oh, we have painkillers. What am I doing? Well, now we're guaranteed to live, even if we get a stamina cadaver here. Oops. Whoops. Check out the lockers. Maybe we can buy something if we need it. Do you want to buy something? Outward is a good game, man. So we didn't level up. That's bad. Now hold on, hold on. There we go. But yeah, no, Invincible is good. I like it. I really don't like that one thing that shows... And here's the thing, okay, to be fair, Invincible was written, like, a long time ago, right? And then it was recently adapted into, like, an animated show. I think it would be... I think people would be angry if I just said cartoon, but, I mean, because it's more serious than a cartoon, quote-unquote, but, you know, it's like a cartoon. Like, a cartoon is an animated show, right? So, you know, it is what it is. It's not like I don't want to split hairs, regardless. But, like, it's a good show, and I think that I just really don't like that sort of thing. And, like, hilariously, I think The Walking Dead does it a lot better, where it's like, you know, any character can die except for, like, Rick. And again, I only got to, like, the prison part. So, I don't know if Rick dies. He could die, I don't know. You'd have to ask somebody else, because again, I've only gotten to, like, the beginning of the prison part where they're, like, stabbing the zombies through the fence posts or whatever, like the chain link fences. That was pretty cool, right? I think that's genuinely, like, neat. And there's a lot of really cool stuff about Invincible. Like, this is, like, the most minor spoiler imaginable, right? But I really like the nice touch of the tailor guy. Like, he's just, like, a tailor and then he just has, like, a basement where he's, like, the tailor for superheroes, but he just has this, like, strip mall corner store, like, front for his business, and then in the, like, the basement, it's, like, this really high-tech lab where he designs custom suits. I think that's... I like that a lot. And it's a lot of little things that Invincible does really well. And also, like, here, I'm going absolutely insane. Like, again, I haven't finished it. I've got 2 episodes to go, or, like, an episode and a half to go, alright? Before I finish it. Why does everybody hate Amber? Like, everybody is like, Mark's girlfriend is an asshole. And it's like... like, I don't get it. I legitimately do not get it. If this was a Reddit Am I the Asshole thread, she would be NTA. Like, that's a bold... Like, I mean, maybe she does something really bad, like, really nasty in the last couple episodes, but as she is now, is like, it seems her reactions are completely normal and realistic to the situations that she's put in. And I think that, I mean, yeah, that's just what I think, and I'm going absolutely crazy, because I remember when Invincible first came out, you would go on Twitter, and you would just see, like, a picture of Mark beat up, and then Amber being, like, a jerk to him or something. You know, it's so weird. It's genuinely weird. We're gonna take 4 damage here? Sure, why not? It's just 4 damage, dude, who cares? But yeah, no, like, is insane, right? Like, I do not get it at all. This is the last time we're gonna level up, by the way, so we might as well. And it's just, we do have a boss fight here, that is true. Multiple boss fights. So we're gonna listen to the man, and you might think that we're gonna go absolutely crazy. We actually could level up again, but we're not going to. No reason to sell the compass, it's worth more as 1 damage when we have 8 funds. Now, do we have fetid fumes? Yes or no? We do, you scumbag. Okay, so I was gonna get that taken care of at the hospital, but instead, we're gonna buy some stuff. We're gonna go shopping. And we're gonna buy things that Miku probably shouldn't be able to get her hands on. I mean, I did just say we could level up again, but no. We go up to 7. We go up to... Like, we literally won't get anything from resting at home, and we've already used the... I want to reroll for pain meds. Like, that's a little bit extreme, but I think that it buys us the time that we need. And listen, just hope that we don't have to... Oh, yeah, that's a little awkward, isn't it? It'll be fine. It'll be fine. This area is safe. Should have sold the compass. That's completely fine. That is more than okay. Like, that's literally the strat. Okay? Like, when you get into a situation like this where it's the end game and you have some... Do we have paranoia? No, we don't. Okay. And it's not paranoia, it's the other one. It's Kermit. That is, like, literally the best case scenario. That is why, if you're at the end of the game... Bruh. Okay, that's fine. Because of, that. If you're at the end of the game, if you're on, like, the last mystery, and you get the option, like Junji Ito, to opt in to something truly evil, you should. Because then that adds the something truly evil events to the pool, and then that means that you can dilute bad events by having a chance of drawing something that will literally never make a difference. Because this number needs to be at 4 before we get scared. And so the fact that the number is at 2, we're perfectly fine. Although do keep in mind that if you rest at home after getting this number up, you will have a bad time, because it'll increase the number by 1 every time. So I think it starts at 2. It might start at 3. I'm pretty sure it starts at 2. Just from, like, I feel like in the back of my head there's just some, like, vague, whatchamacallit. Just some vague knowledge in the back of my mind where I think that's correct. Anyway, so I started Blast, and there's no Takashi. This is the last thing. This is the last thing that we're gonna fight. So, and there's no light source either. It's second enemy, which we are not going to successfully do. So we might lose. We might lose these. Although we're gonna be fine on all the stat checks, so it's cool. It's actually cool. We're gonna take 2, go down to 5, and then we're gonna Desperation here and kill him, right? So that's gonna do 9. Okay, yeah, okay. And then just in case my, like, bonus damage, Desperation, doubling attack, sometimes rounding up, calculations were wrong. It is what it is, brother. So here's the thing, we're gonna... Doomed already is already gonna take us out of that, so... I mean, I actually think we're fine. Like, I'll try to think of the second enemy, like, I'll try to reason it out, but... I think that if we lose, it'll be because I didn't write it down, but I don't think... Like, we go up to, like, 94% Doom, who cares, right? We still win. So... The first mystery we did was Household Hell. The second mystery, it has to be Infested Girl, right? Nope, it was probably Stalker Girl. Was it Stalker Girl? No. Is it Nameless Horror? Definite. I have no idea. I genuinely do not know. I completely forgot. Always lucky, never punished? Always lucky, never punished. Thank you so much for watching. The name's Webweaver. This has been the Invincible Rant episode. It's very good. Although, you know what's weird? Like, the best part about the show is, like, everything but, like, there's, like, 2 action scenes that have been good so far. And that might be, like, the most nuclear hot take you've ever heard. But... like, the animation is kind of, like, hit or miss, and they change styles, like, really jarringly. So you'll be watching a section where the characters are in 3D, and then it will do a close-up to one of the characters, and they're still in 3D, like, they're still, you know, 3D, well, not 3D, like, CGI. I should say CGI. They're CGI, and you can clearly tell they're CGI. And then they do, like, a close-up on one of the characters' faces, and they're in CGI, and then it cuts to another character, and they're in, like, 2D, like, drawn style. And you just have this really weird contrast where you're looking at somebody who's, like, in CGI and then somebody who's not. And it is weird. And sometimes they'll mix the two in the same shot, and that looks even more awkward, where you can see, like, 2D bystanders running away and CGI bystanders running away. And the environments in the background, like, the art style is all over the place. Like, sometimes it's absolutely fantastic. Like, that shot of, like... Again, this is really early on, so it's not a spoiler. The shot of Earth looks really, really good. And then there's, like, a couple of the fight scenes look really, really, really good. Like, they blew the budget on that. And then some of the scenes are like, what the heck am I looking at? You know, some of the scenes just kind of look, like, awkward, and some of the backgrounds look like screenshots with filters placed over them, and then some of the screenshots look like beautifully handcrafted. Or I shouldn't say screenshots, I should say backdrops, like the environment, the backgrounds. And so, like, yeah, it's just this really weird, like, I would say generally, like, the quality is, like, good, like, really good, but then there are just some moments where it's like, for some reason, some characters are, like, stylized completely, and it's not, like, an artistic thing, it looks uncanny as all heck. So, like, that's a weird thing that you kind of have to get over, but, I mean, it's good. Like, it is really good, and I'm very interested to either, like, watch... Like, I'm gonna finish watching it, but I kind of want to read it, I think. Because if you read it, you don't have to wait for, like, the animation studio. And then once the Season 2 comes out, you can be like, oh, I can't wait for the goats from Ainz O'Gown to do the thing, right? The splat, 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 splat thing, right? You know, it's like, oh, I can't wait for... this part to be animated, or, you know, because that's what usually, like, animated adaptations of, like, existing works are for. is so that you can see those absolutely incredible moments, like, visualized in front of you, like, brought to life, you know? Like, more so than just, like, a page could do. And, I mean, pages can do a lot, but there's some things that when you see them animated, like, that fight, this is completely changing the subject in a video that I probably need to end now, because was that a 40-minute run? Hello? It didn't feel like 40 minutes. Is, like, the scene in Mob Psycho. Like, there's a lot of scenes in Mob Psycho that are absolutely, like, phenomenal to watch. But, like, or I should say One Punch Man, right? Like, there are some scenes in One Punch Man where you can kind of just, like, imagine the scale of what's happening from, like, the pages themselves, but then when you watch the anime and you see how fluid it is and you see how much action and weight there is, it's like, oh man, like, this is an entirely new experience. Like, what I was imagining, like, what I was filling in the gaps for those pages was incredible, and then actually seeing it animated is so much better than I could ever imagine, right? So, I mean, it's like, there's a power to it, right? Like, one of my favorite things, or, sorry, I shouldn't say one of my favorite things, one of my least favorite things about the Overlord anime is that the Overlord anime ruined a lot of some of the best scenes, right? Like, one of my favorite scenes in the Overlord light novel is when Ainz meets the lizard men and he freezes their lake, right? And they completely drop the ball on that scene in the anime. Like, it's compared to the book, it's terrible. And in the anime, if you don't know what happens in the book, you're like, okay, this is a fine scene, right? But in the book, when you get to that part where he freezes that lake, that is like some genuine, like, eldritch horror shit that happens, and it is a big deal. And in the anime, it's like, it froze a lake. Why did Ainz in the anime freeze the lake? Because he freezes the lake in the book. What are the consequences to freezing the lake in the book? Like, eldritch terror that scares, like, an entire species. What is the consequences of freezing the lake in the anime? Literally nothing, because they never established that the lake was important, and instead the lake is just a set piece to be fought on, right? It doesn't, like, I could go on and on about how the Overlord anime ruined some of the, like, the best scenes in the show. And, like, some of the scenes they do really good, right? Like, the Colosseum, where, like, the adventuring group is going up against Ainz, that's done really well. But then you get to something like the Black Goats, and, I mean, I didn't think it was, like, the Black Goats scene sucked in the anime. Like, literally the most iconic scene in the entire series. Anime kinda dropped the ball, right? But then you go to, like, the, Momon Knight fight versus Yalbadoth or whatever for, like, season 2, and they just break the animation budget on that. And it's like, that's a cool fight, don't get me wrong, but that is nowhere near as iconic as, like, some of the other scenes. And I would love to get, like, a season 3 of Overlord, or sorry, a season 4 of Overlord, because season 3 is terrible. I would love to get a season 4 of Overlord, but I'm worried, like, if they messed up, like, Shaltir versus the Redacted, I would be pretty upset, right? Like, I would be like, oh man, like, this is one of the coolest parts, like, my favorite part in the book kind of would get ruined, and I don't really have faith in them after the Black Goats part. But anyways, thanks for watching. Hope you're all staying safe out there. Have a good one. Bye.